Oh, hi. I was checking out what kind of factory options this X5 of mine has, and turns out this has quite a lot of these. For example, this has the sports package, smoker, seat adjustment, electric, yeah, that I did know, armrest front, I think is this one, sports seats, seat heating, driving passenger, that's nice to have in Finland with leather seat and with the winter. Navigation system professional, HiFi professional DSP, preparation BMW 6CD changer. Well, actually it has the 6CD changer, I don't know, maybe someone has put that there, and it actually works. Headlight cleaning system, Ranger, so xenon lights. Oh, I didn't know that this has xenon lights. Automatic air condition, automatic transmission, well that I did know. Hydro steering, servotronic, well that's something that you don't, at least in Finland, you don't usually see on these either D9s and that kind of this era of cars, so that's quite rare. So that's quite rare option. Sport suspension settings, I have no idea how that affects on X5. EU specific multifunction steering wheel, this one. Sports leather seating, yeah. BMW wheel, Starspoke 132, so that's the current wheels that this has. Exterior parts in vehicle color, battery, high-speed synchronization. I have. Well, I think that was like there's no actual speed limiter in this car. Cold climate version, language version German. On-board literal Swedish, yeah, I think this is imported from Sweden at some point, so usually the Finnish cars, they don't have these kind of options that this has, so it makes sense that this is from Sweden. Daytime driving lights. Oh yeah, there's automatic, that one. Headlining anthracite, yes, there's black headlining, that's like best thing ever in these old cars. Spare wheels, I have no idea about those, so yeah. But well, of course we need to start taking out the engine now to get actually driving this car at some point. So let's get direct to that and stop the talk. I will probably do some kind of time lapse or something like that. So Okay, we start to be pretty close to the point that I can lift up this engine. There has been some pause because I was having some man flu and I didn't have actually tools, because it looks like that it's pretty much impossible to get the transmission bolts off from underneath. I think so. So that's why I needed these kind of tools that I can remove those bolts from up here. It's also much easier like that. But these were out of stock pretty much everywhere in Oulu. Luckily Eco had these, so I got these again. I have these in my proper garage, but it's so far away, though it doesn't make sense to just get these from there. But anyways, only thing left are still the transmission bolts, then converter bolts. Then I need to remove the AC compressor. It seems that I can get this AC system away from here without losing all the fluids in there, or the you get it. The substance that is inside there, so I can still keep the AC system in working. Then yeah, that's pretty much it. I think everything is off. Oh no, the front drive shaft is still there. The wiring seems to be there, but I only need to like lift this away from here. So yeah, let's loosen up the front drive shaft, the AC compressor, and then we can take the bell housing bolts off and it's pretty much free to lift up. Getting close to lift this up. I think everything should be now disconnected from the engine. The AC is away from here, power steering, everything, all the bolts and things, and I did even disconnect the front diff, so that's not connected to the oil pan anymore. I did support the transmission with that strap there, and there's also jack there, so it should stay up. And all the bolts but small there and the big one there on the bottom, all the other bolts are now off there. So I think I'm now going to lift this engine a little bit so that I can get those bolts off the engine mounts, and then it should just, when I loosen those two bolts, it should just come here little bit and then lift up. At least what I see, it shouldn't hit anything. There's plenty of room everywhere. I can still take off the engine mounts and some of the brackets if I need, but I'd rather not because it's so annoying there. So yeah, let's try to hook up the engine hoist there and then lift this up. That went actually quite smoothly. Only real problem that I had was with this stupid GM gearbox, the transmission, because I didn't know that these have this kind of thing that pokes inside the crank, so it was really stuck there and I had real trouble getting this out of there. But once that was off, then it came up quite easily. I didn't even break anything. By the way, let's see that if these engine mounts are still fine. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, good. So, but okay, that front diff, it was a bit annoying because you couldn't get the engine out with that still attached to the oil pan because it would have hit this steering rack here. I think without the servotronic that would have been okay because this is quite long one. but with this it couldn't get out, and then I couldn't drop the front diff at all because it was hitting the subframe. And then when I just took off the front diff and let it hang there with the zip ties, the engine couldn't get out, so I had to a little bit move the engine, then drop the front diff and then take the engine off. So that's for you to know if you are going to do this. But anyways, everything here is now done, so okay, I will maybe clean something, this oil mess here, but otherwise this all looks good here. So let's move inside with the engine. So the engine is now inside this warm garage, so I can work with this much easier. I think next thing is to do is to maybe drain out the last of the coolant that is there and clean a little bit of this mess so this doesn't constantly drip on the floor. And then let's take off the oil pan and see what kind of carnage we have there, and then we can decide what to do next. So far everything looks quite normal for engine with 200 Ks on the clock, a little bit varnish and that kind of stuff. But at least I don't see any metal pieces or anything critically wrong here. Yeah, chain is okay. But of course on the oil pan we can see that there's some kind of metal shavings there, and there also some kind of gold color, so that could be that is most likely from the bearings. But still, let's see how the crank looks. It's okay if the bearings are totally gone. It all depends on how the crank looks in this. Getting close. Let's see if any of these rod caps is loose. No, 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 no. Okay, that's good. Okay, I did expect that because I didn't hear any rod knock. So let's open those bolts. First two, there's some wear on this, so this bearing is gone. But the crank inside, you can see some shavings from the bearing, but still crank feels and looks fine. On this one, there's some more wear, that's even on copper, and that's not good. I can see some blue on the crank, but I don't know, it doesn't look like it clearly has gotten warm here because it's blue, but might be okay. Let's open the rest. I got all of those off and everyone looks pretty much the same. There's some, okay, this is on the copper, or is that brass or something, and there's at least some copper and that kind of things. But yeah, the bearings have gotten quite a beating. You can see there's different kind of spots that there was absolutely no oil at all. There's flakes missing from that. Same there. Also flakes there. Yeah, so the bearings are totally gone. But with some quick glance, The crank seems fine. There's some coloring, like you can maybe see in that one. There's some bearing flakes there. That one has some coloring, but I don't feel anything on my finger, so at least these connecting rod journals, these will be okay with some polish. So let's crack open these main caps and see how it looks there. If it all looks just fine, or not fine, same as those, then we are good. But if that's fine, then I need to take the valve cover off and the chains and everything to actually take out the whole crank. But let's see. This looks promising, but main caps, this one looks okay. Little bit oil starvation. Crank is fine. Then the thrust bearing. This is fine. Looks like even like from running engine. Crank is okay. Next one. This is okay. Little bit oil starvation. What was that? It was the. Then this one. This is pretty bad. There's a lot of wear in the bearing, and there's some bearing material on the crank. But I think that's something that I can barely feel on my finger. So that's probably something that will polish out. Then this one, bearing is like absolutely gone, but the crank seems okay. Again, there's little bit something that I can feel, but again I think this will polish out. But then this is something that I'm worried because as you can see the bearings has actually spun. But this main cap, this doesn't look that bad. There's little bit scratches because that has only rotated like maybe 45 degrees, so it hasn't rotated much. But I would guess that that's what has seized this engine from running. So yeah, the first one, there's all like normal wear there, so I don't know. That could be something that can be polished out, but I don't know. I need to see that, and to see that I need to take the valve cover and the chain drive vanos and that off. So yeah, let's put back on these caps, so because I really need to see what that looks like. That is it totally gone or can it polished out? Looks quite okay here. There's actually very little wear on these cams. These look like best ones that I have actually seen. But oh no, there's some surface rust here. Well, that's but yeah, it's quite clear where this comes because of course when this was running low on oil, there was no proper oil film on these cams, and this car has been sitting almost like a year before I bought it. So it has developed some surface rust here. This is not like optimal, but I think, yeah, I'll just polish these cams and it will be fine. But of course, let's see how these cam caps look, because if if these are really worn here because of the oil problem, then this cam needs to be replaced. And these M54B30 cams, these start to be quite expensive. But let's see. Let's first take out the chain so that we can pull out the crank to see that one journal there. No! Me. Okay, the cam caps, I think I forgot to turn on the record on the camera. But these cam caps, there's some wear, but I don't think that's like, you sometimes even see that kind of wear in these kind of engines that have run normally. So I don't think that matters. The cam, there's one scratch there, but otherwise this seems fine. Okay, there's another scratch there. But yeah, I think this intake cam is fine. I just need to get this out and get rid of this rust. And yeah, I will replace this one because this is really rusty. This exhaust cam seems to have some quite significant wear here. I can even feel that and everything, and it's like totally polished. So I think I will swap out this exhaust cam because I have the one from my M52 NA project, and in those the exhaust cam is basically same as in these. I think even the part number is the same. So I will swap that out because that's much better in here. Basically, it's basically new in this surface, so I will swap out that to this engine. But yeah, otherwise this seems fine. Okay, so what's the final verdict? Well, these bearings, at least these are totally trash. But this main journal here, I don't know, like you can clearly feel that this is slippery and this isn't, so it has gotten some damage. But I did try to clean this with soft Scotch Scrub-Rite. And as far as I can tell, there's only this little scratch here that isn't very deep. So I would guess that this is fine. I will need to take this to the machine shop and see what they say. But I would guess that this is fine. The tolerance for the size of this, it's quite wide. So I'm pretty sure this is okay. I don't see any catastrophic failure here. So yeah, I think I will take this crank to the machine shop and get them to polish these journals, and I think this is fine. This won't be like any really high horsepower engine, so this doesn't need to be perfect. So as a daily driver engine, I think this is fine. There's some grooves on the block from that bearing rotating, but I think I will just stone those out. That will be fine. So yeah, I would say that this engine can be saved. I will take those cams also out and see if there's some damage in those, but I don't think there is. So yeah, new bearings, polish the crank, polish the cams, and throw this back together. I have huge job to do with the cleaning all the parts and everything. Of course, I won't be making this like perfect engine. It's enough that this is clean enough to run. I don't plan to like totally clean this outside and inside. Of course, from inside I need to really carefully clean all the oil passages to make sure that there's no any metal flakes or anything there. I think that all the metal flakes are inside the oil pump and the filter housing, because the oil filter should catch all the metal shavings, but still I will clean every oil passage in this engine that it has. And before we end this, here's the bearings, not in any particular order. Here are the connecting rod bearings, and here are the crank main journal bearings. Some of these are fine, some of these are less fine. But yeah, you can see the carnage here. Make sure you have oil in your engine when you are driving that. But yeah, I think I will move to clean up this mess here, and let's continue in the next video, where I will hopefully put this engine back together with new bearings, and probably, yeah, these are everything in the chain drive is really worn. I don't know why, but those are. So all these plastics need to be changed and that kind of things. But luckily all the parts that I need to change are really cheap, so this won't be costing much to actually fix. Only like a lot of time.